You know, I love stories. I've been a bookworm my whole life. I spend the better part of most of my weeks making stories, whether I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons with friends or playing video games with my family or talking together and making memories with the teens. I love stories. I always have, and I think I always will. And maybe one of the most intimidating things to me about sharing my testimony is that for the longest time, I thought I didn't have a story worth telling. I was saved when I was 5. I prayed the sinner's prayer for the first time before I could really even read. I spent my whole life in church. I had 2 incredibly wonderful, godly parents who brought me up from a young age, incredible youth pastors and Sunday school teachers who poured into me. I never had a rebellious phase. I didn't go off and do anything that would shame or embarrass the church or God or me for that matter. I certainly wasn't the perfect child. My faith had its ups and downs, and, you know, I got some things wrong. But overall, I didn't have a really interesting walk into the faith. It was just always with me. And I'd go to youth events or in college, I'd listen to the stories of my peers, and it seemed like everyone had a big dramatic story. You know, the kind of thing where they were gone and far from God, and there was this miraculous moment where they saw him and they came to him, and I just didn't have that. And I remember thinking, how can my story compare to those? Does anybody really even need to hear my story? Well, then I got to know some more people with different stories, and I got to know the man who would eventually become my husband. And one of the things he told me when we were dating was, Rachel, your story is of a God who saved you before you even got into anything that you would have to regret later. And I thought about that for a long time, and I realized that he was right. The story that I have in my life isn't the story of a God who came to me in the middle of my desperation and pulled me out of the mire. My story is of a God who has raised me from birth like a father raises his daughter. You know, I have the incredible blessing that so many people responded to God's call on their lives and brought me up knowing Jesus. I have the incredible privilege of seeing Jesus work in my life from my earliest memories until today. God looks different to me now than he did when I was 5 years old. But all along the way, I have been able to see that it was God. And I have been able to see how Jesus has helped me recognize him more over the years. I have been saved and redeemed from my brokenness and my selfishness and my sin, even though those things probably wouldn't seem big or significant or impressive to other people. I know that I am someone who has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and he has saved me and saves me each day and helps me to know more and more what he looks like. So now I know I have a story. I have a great story. The story of walking hand in hand with Jesus every single day of my life. The kind of story that we hope every child and every teenager who comes into Southside will have one day. The story of a God who met them when they were young and never, ever left. Maybe your story is new. Maybe it's been going on for years and years and years. But if there's anything I've learned, it's that Jesus loves stories even more than I do. My name is Rachel Campbell, and this is my story.